Hi, it's Chris from Stamp Blessings, and I'm here for my Monday motivation. It's all about white space. So yesterday I had a great video. I was online live with Facebook, and for some reason my phone and my Wi-Fi just didn't want to cooperate. And I had so much buffering and so many dead spaces that I ended up just deleting the video, and I thought I'd come back today and try it again. And the win-win is now I will have a whole nother set of these beautiful clean and simple cards that I can't wait to share with you. So if you're watching me on Facebook, if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure that you click like, send me an emoji, let me know where you're watching from, and if you have any comments, be sure to leave them, and I always come back and I'll go ahead and reply. If you see anything that you like, be sure to go visit my website, chrisfranco.closetomyheart.com. And I have mystery hostess reward drawings every month, so you might just get lucky. Well, these are current stamp sets right now in our catalog. It is the Isabella scrapbooking stamp and thin cut dies. So Close to My Heart does have a magnetic sheet with matching thin cut options, so I love that. And then this one is a little bit more whimsical. It's called Smiles from the Garden, and I use these two sets to make these three really beautiful clean and simple cards that were fun and easy and are really maximizing the white space. So if you have ever tried clean and simple stamping, you think, oh wow, that's super easy. But actually, sometimes it's a little bit tricky, and I hope to help you get through kind of that navigation on having enough white space and still having a bold focus. And I've got a couple of tips on how to do that. Let's go ahead and get started with this card right here. So what I did is I cut a white piece of white daisy cardstock, and it measures 2 inches by 2 inches, a nice small square. You could probably work on a bigger panel and then just chop it down. Maybe you're going to do a 4 by 4 and then you decide to chop it down right away, and you'll have 4 different cards all at once. But I am kind of a control freak, and I wanted to make sure I knew where every little image was going. So for this stamps, I used our lemon image, and then I went ahead and I masked it. But for my next card, I'm going to try a little bit different. So the Isabella stamp set is gorgeous, and I just love all of the flowers in it, and especially the lemons. And if you've been seeing online a lot, it seems like a lot of stamp companies right now do have a lemon, and even in print, so it must be really an in thing, and that shows me that Close to My Heart is always on point. Because I'm going to use Copic markers, I'm going to go ahead and use Memento ink. I also have Close to My Heart's Intense Black, which works really well also. So you have either option. I use Copic markers because before I joined Close to My Heart, I had a ton of them, and I hated to just start all over again. But if you're just starting out fresh, Close to My Heart does carry the tri-blend markers, which what is nice about that is that you get 3 colors all at once. So you don't have to really do what I was going to do now, is find matching colors that kind of go together. All right, so for my first, I went ahead and inked up this beautiful flower. I'm not sure what kind of a flower it is, but it's pretty. So I'm just going to go ahead and I want to try and get as much of the lemon and the flower in there as possible. Go ahead and press down, and I use the little foam from the Close to My Heart stamp inserts to give me a little bit of a base here to put some pressure on, and that helps you get a nice image. I know that's going to be good because it's stuck to it. All right, and while I'm here, I'm going to use my stamp chamois. This is, you get 2 to a package, and you just keep them wet, and then you can just clean it up really quick like that. I love it. It cleans blocks, it cleans fingertips. I need to remember to do that, otherwise I will have the wayward ink where I don't want it. So I've cleaned that up. I'm going to put that aside. Oh, nope, I want this lemon one more time because I have a little bit too much white space up there. So let me just ink up this lemon. I just do the tip and come in and just come in like that. Perfect. I almost kind of smudged it. I could feel that it was moving a little bit on me. That's the problem of working on the camera. Sometimes I'm a little bit out of whack, and with my bifocals, yikes. All right, so I'll set aside my foam. So I have this small little 2x2 packet little piece, and it's going to be really fast and easy to color. So I'll go ahead and start first with my lemons, and I hope not to take too much time. I like to go in with my darker color first, and usually the stamp actually shows me where that darker color should be by having those darker lines. So these stamps are pretty forgiving with that. They're really useful. And then I'm going to go in with my lighter color, and because I have a bigger area and I want to do it quickly, I'm going to use the chisel end, and I'll just pull in from the darker color and come in. And I'm just going to do a quick coloring. It does not take much at all. So I want to just blend that a little bit more. Pull that dark in from the sides. Perfect. All right, so for my flower, which like I said, I'm not really sure what it is. It could be maybe, a gardenia, or I'm not sure. But nevertheless, it's really pretty. So I'm going to come in again with that same idea of having a little bit of the darker color. I like to have that at the base and sometimes in the center. And now I'm going to just pull out with my lighter color. Again, I'm using the chisel, and I am doing fast coloring here just so that you don't have to get bored watching me. I think why I had Wi-Fi problems is we do have limited data. I mean, it's pretty much, and it usually lasts us, but my son went to Alaska for his vacation. He didn't want to go to the beach with us, which we still haven't gone to the beach, so he was probably smart not to wait around. And anyway, we blew through our data, and so I think my phone slowed down. And now I'm going to just finish up really quickly with some green leaves. So you can see this is not like fancy coloring. It doesn't take hours and hours. The palette is just little and small, this piece. So I'm going to come in with some dark green, and then I'll go ahead and pull it out. So this is one of my favorite stamps, and I don't know about you, but I always am gravitating towards the florals and butterflies, and it's not like I don't have enough, but there's always some kind of new twist to it that makes me want to get it. But I do have fun going back through my stamps and pulling out some old favorites, so don't worry, they don't get ignored. All right, so you're looking at that and you're like, okay, Chris, that looks okay, but it's not anything fancy. Well, now comes the final hurrah, and you'll want to find a nice bright blue. And for this one, this is called Holiday Blue. And this is where you come in now, and I'm actually going to outline on the outside of the image, and I'm now filling in really, really quickly this white space. So in this case, even though my video is embracing the white space, for this little panel, we want it all colored in, and then the rest of the card is going to go ahead and embrace it. So I'm doing it super, super fast. Hopefully I don't get into my other images, but so far so good. And you'll see how quickly this really comes together. You could stamp out a couple of these panels, and then just as you're watching TV, or just, you know, having some downtime. You know, probably like, Chris, what is downtime? But I know. But it just comes together so fast. And this blue is what ties it all together and gives it that big pop. And there you go. So there I've colored one little panel just like that. And all I need to do is put it on a card base. Now, one of my tips for making this even just a little bit more wow, because that looks nice, but the next thing is to add a little foam behind it. Okay, so I'm going to just cut some foam, and I'm eyeballing it. And I don't need a lot of foam. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it down the center. And that gives, you know, just kind of makes it go a little bit further. I don't know about you, but I like to just be frugal, thrifty. I'm just going to get it like that. It's a little bit sticky, but that's okay. And now I can go ahead and peel off my protective pieces. For the final step is to go ahead and stamp a sentiment. And I'm not going to do that right now because I'm going to show you what that just takes a little bit more time. But I'll just give you a quick idea of what I could do next. All right, so I want to make sure that I'm putting it in the right direction. I want to get it squared, so that's where this mat lines up with the grid, and it really helps me. And I'm going to go ahead and lay it down like that. So it looks nice and centered. For this card here, I went ahead and I stamped my hello to the side, which I really like. It's kind of fun and different. And here, the same card that I made yesterday is thinking of you. Now you're probably saying, wait a minute, Chris, that little strip down there of pattern paper really doesn't match your clean and style, but it's because when I was stamping thinking of you, I managed to drop the stamp down here and it stamped not only once, but then it bounced and stamped again. So it was a hot mess, this card, but I fixed it by just putting this little strip of pattern paper. And whenever you have a black or gray striped, it kind of goes with anything. So I think I salvaged it, but I didn't want to risk stamping a sentiment. But again, this popped up panel is just a little bit, but it adds so much dimension. All right, so let's go ahead and try this next card. And this is just, again, using the Isabella stamp set. And it is just gorgeous. So I went ahead and I pre-die cut some of the images. So the lemon is now just by itself, one of the flowers, and then I have this black scalloped circle, which, by the way, close to my heart, is retiring most everything in its core catalog. So this is the last month that the things will be available, except for while supplies last. So this scallop is just one of my favorites, and it looks pretty in white or in black or really in any color. So I've also die cut that. Again, because I'm using Copic markers, I'm going to go ahead and stamp in Memento ink. So I'll just go ahead and ink this up. I also like my Close to My Heart Intense Black. If you get that one, I recommend getting the re-inker right away. I just happened to grab this because it was handy. So that's kind of how I go sometimes. Whatever I find. And right now we're kind of trying to redo my craft room. My husband acknowledged that after 16 years, it's about time that I get my own craft room. And I was pretty excited about that. So now I just have to get some electrical work done. And the room is pretty much torn apart right now. So, all right. I have been watching little videos online, though, of ideas for craft room setups. All right, so that went really quick. Here I got just a little bit off, but that's okay. It's not going to show too much, and if I really worried about it, I could always come in and trim. So Close to My Heart offers you the option of buying just the stamp set, or you can buy the matching thin cut dies. I like that feature. So if you don't have a scan and cut, you know, you could use the dies, or if you don't mind fussy cutting, which I really don't, you could also save some money. And saving money means more stamps or more inks and more paper. All right, so there you go. Well, I'm not going to take the time to show you how I colored this lemon and the flower, but I will say that I glued the flower directly to the scallop, and then just like I popped up that last panel, I popped up this lemon with a little bit of foam. And again, that just gives you that extra little dimension that makes this clean and simple card look just a little bit more fancy. So I would go ahead and just layer, and then I could emboss my sentiment, which I have another one ready that I just did here. And I can just assemble, put it on a card. Because I have this lemon popped up, I can just add some glue quickly to the back. Don't you love the magic of video, having things done quickly? But these cards really are fast, and I think they're beautiful. For me, they're just as nice as multi-layered. I want to go ahead and make sure my sentiment is straight before I press it down. And there's my card. It's ready to go. So here I've used the sentiment hello, and here I used the word thanks. Both times the laying came down just a little bit different, but it's okay. They both look great. All right, so there's our second clean and simple card done. This next card is going to use, like I said, the Smiles from the Garden set, and it's super whimsical. I've been using the butterflies a lot, and if you check out my blog post, you'll see them. Hey, Jennifer, I love that you love lemons too. I do love lemons. But today I'm going to start looking at these little flowers because they have been ignored in my stamp set. So I went ahead again and I die cut some of my images. Now I also went ahead and pulled out some of Close to My Heart's retiring inks. Unfortunately, they're retiring. Canary, one of my favorites, and Fern is another one of my favorites. Smoothie, I've actually come to love, so I'm sad about that one retiring as well. And then the last one is Pebble, and this one is quite a muted color. I used it here, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So let's go ahead and ink these up and see how they go. So I just have to change out my blocks real quick and get those ready. All right, so what's nice about this image is I like that I can really ink these up really easily and still use two colors. So I'll go ahead and start first with the canary. And I just lay it here, and you can see I can kind of look at it and get some nice yellow on there. Just tap it along. And now I'm going to go ahead and move into the fern. These are the old styles, Close to My Heart inks. You'll see in a minute the new style, which is magnetic. So you can see how long these inks have been around because that's all old school stamp pads. All right, so I've got a nice ink color, and I'm going to go ahead and hopefully get it. Again, my angle is a little wonky here under the camera, but looks like okay. I'm going to just press it and hold it for a second and peel it off, and it came out great. So for the next one, I'm going to use Sorbet. And again, it's old school ink pad. And this one has two flowers, so it's just a little bit trickier, but not too bad. I can just ink it up. I see that I got a little bit of ink here. I could use my stamp chamois, or I just kind of use my fingernail. And now I'm going to just ink up this stem here. And you can see I'm just kind of looking where I have some stamp, and there we go. And I didn't get too much on the leaf, so I want to just get back there. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and really, if I got a little bit color from one to another, it wouldn't be the world. So I'm going to go ahead and close up my ink pad so I don't have a catastrophe here. And I'll go ahead and pull that off, and it came out perfect. And now again, I can just clean off my two stamps really quickly and set them aside. Now I could have stamped directly to my cardstock, and that would have been fine. But one of the tips I have about when you do clean and simple with lots of white is just by having this little bit of a layer of having it die cut and stamped and then attached, it still gives me enough dimension to give it a little bit of interest. Now I only have 2 images here, and supposedly the rules are that you should stamp in odds. So I thought I'd get this little butterfly in from the Smiles from the Garden set, and I'm just inking it up in the Pebble ink, which is quite light. So I've got my flowers arranged, and I'm going to just stick it there. And the sentiments are also quite nice from here. Each day is a new beginning. You brighten my day, or you make me smile. I think that I'll go ahead and do You Brighten My Day. Go ahead and do that quickly. And because I'm just using black ink and not coloring, I can just go ahead and use a VersaFine ink pad. Now I did put it on a little bit wonky, so I'm going to make sure that when I come down straight. Make sure that my block hopefully is clean. That's where the stamp chamois is always nice. You can just kind of wipe the corners just to avoid any problems. And now because I've got those laid out, I can just quickly, again, you're seeing how quick these cards are. You could just do them assembly line. And when you have a quick card, I think that you're going to be more apt to send out Happy Mail. Because if you're going to really get bogged down making something for hours, sometimes then, I don't know about you, but I have a hard time giving it away, especially if I'm not sure how the receiver will take it. So again, boom, done. So Lois, I see that you're saying that you really like the flowers. I do too. It's kind of almost a folks arty. So now we've finished our 3rd card, and I have one last surprise card that really is super, super, super clean and simple. And there you go. And why I came up with this card was because I had my supplies laying out from last week when I was showing how to bling up Close to My Heart's Build a Rainbow set. And I had brought out our stamp set that kind of coordinates with it called Sunny Days Ahead. Well, this sun is just really kind of cool, and I'm not a smiley face and coffee cups and things, but I don't know, that sun just with that smiley face just kind of gets me. So I thought, you know what? This would be perfect for a clean and simple card. And I want to show you the rock and roll technique if you've not ever tried that. It's really a cool technique, and it adds a lot to your cards. And if you have a solid image like this, it's even better. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to get a block ready. And I'll go ahead and just get out this stamp set really quick. So again, this doesn't have a coordinating die specifically, but it does really coordinate well with our Build a Rainbow. So I'm going to put this on at an angle because it's a little bit off. And for the rock and roll technique, I like to go ahead and ink up first with my lighter color. So in this case, I'm going to use Lemonade. And I'm just going to ink it up nice and dark. Now, if you don't have a coordinating color, you could just stamp this off and then do what I'm going to do next. And what I'm going to do next is with Sundance. This is one of our newer colors. I'm going to just roll the edges of the stamp. So as you can see now, you're seeing how I'm picking up some color. If I didn't have a good coordinating color, I could have stamped off my sun once and then come back and re-inked it in the original color, and that would have still given me a little bit of that extra depth. I want to make sure my card is straight, and I'll go ahead and stamp down and lift, and you can see now that really pretty variegated look. This one I actually got orange even into the sun, and it looked great. So each time it just goes a little bit different, but it works out okay. All right, and I'm just going to put that little sun face on there. And then the last thing, look at how this is truly not even a 10-minute card. I think this would take the record for 5 minutes, right? It's super fast. I could stamp Sunny Days Ahead, You Make Me Happy When Skies Are Gray, You Make the World a Better Place, or we'll just keep it, actually, because I got a little bit off center, I think I want a bigger sentiment to kind of take your eye away from that now that I just pointed it out to you. You might not have even noticed, I don't know. All right, and I'm going to just go ahead and ink up my sentiment. I'm really hoping my hands are clean. I'm going to go ahead and boom, and hold it for just a sec to make sure the ink transfers. And there you go. So now you have two versions of this super clean and simple card. And I'll just kind of go through them really quickly. We have this set that turned out so sweet. Again, just using the die cuts to give a little bit of interest to that card. And then we have this version of my little mini masterpieces where you can just quickly color the inside and the outside of a stamp on your little 2x2 square. And then this last one where I have a pop of black that kind of really grabs your eye, and then a little bit of color here to finish it off. And I see that I need to weight this down a little bit so that it can finish gluing. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to my Monday motivation that happened to be on a Tuesday, but it's all good in card making. At least we got together. So again, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to leave a comment. I'll come back and post. Like my videos, and I post them to YouTube so you can follow me there as well. Have a great day. We'll see ya.